Okay. Ah, got it.
Hi, my daughter.
Hi.
So we're not in the same state. We're in different rooms.
Mhm.
You're sitting in your room. I'm sitting in my room. I'm sitting in the dome. Look behind me. There's artwork of yours from last year. Amazing what's happened in a year, isn't it? Yeah, it's been quite a year.
Yeah.
So you're sitting in your studio. You have one more day where you have access to that space, that place. And I know it's been the culmination of a lot of work that you're presenting in there. And you used your last month's rent to afford yourself the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And henceforth, you've named the show Last Month's Rent. And it's quite a lot of artwork. And you know, as a dad, I'm just really honored to have journeyed this year with you.
Oh, I appreciate
Yeah. And what I'd like to do is to acknowledge this passing of this year and the last month's rent effort you've put to mount the show, your solo show, and kind of share the story of this last year.
that.
Because it's been kind of crazy, hasn't it? You know,
It's been pretty.
yeah, yeah. I'm trying to even remember when you found out that this space was available. COVID hadn't even kicked in, had it?
Yeah, no, I did. It was the middle of quarantine.
It was the middle of quarantine.
Or like, yeah, I want to say like midway through quarantine. Yeah.
And let's back up and tell that story a little bit of how we were sitting along the coast near the studio where James and Diana had offered you that opportunity to share in that space with them and John and Marco. So let's start there. Go ahead, share that
But
story.
that's for you?
Just yeah, just the fact that it was time. You had spent a lot of time in that studio, and you had um, a desire, an intention. Share that intention.
Well, so basically, I was working in the studio in San Clemente, and it was quarantine, and it was getting really scary, and I hadn't really been there, and it was kind of like I don't really know when I'm gonna be able to work in the studio, so and Dad and James were a lot older and like kind of in the higher risk age range for getting like really sick, and so I kind of just picked up my things and essentially moved out of the studio and brought them to the house, to your guys' old house in Laguna, and was working up in an easy up tent outside for I don't even know how long, but um, they were kind of. I was there. I was in the tent outside for a couple months, right? And then Diana was like, "You can come back now, and just like we'll be careful." And so I was looking for a place to be that was closer to San Clemente. So I was trying to move to San Clemente to be in the studio and just like moving out. And I kind of thought it was the right time. I had a friend, you know, you guys were going to be moving soon. You guys were in the process of talking about that. And I knew I wanted to stay here. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start looking for places. And I was going to move in with a friend and it didn't really work out. It kind of like didn't work out last minute. And so, you know, I was like really upset about it because, you know, I just like wanted to be near the studio and I wanted to, you know, work or be close to where I was working. And I was seeing somebody in Costa Mesa at the time, and I was like, maybe I'll look over there. I don't really know, but I remember having this chat with you. Well, I was really upset. You came to have lunch with me in San Clemente, and we were down by the pier, right? We were over by the pier, and we just had this like really long talk of what I wanted my life to look like, or what I wanted my environment to be, like how I could essentially like full on manifesting like this space. I think we probably described it to a T,
It
sitting
was,
down.
yeah, it was a great talk. I remember that we're sitting looking at the ocean, and I was just like, okay, so yeah, this didn't pan out. What would you like it to be? Because that wasn't really it either. So, and then you just started riffing, and the whole thing was like it had a loft, and you could live and paint and do the whole thing in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then suddenly, like that, yeah.
yeah, that was pretty crazy. I think maybe a week after that talk, I went on Craigslist because I was like looking around, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna find anything like this, like, and I was looking in Costa Mesa, so I was like, I knew of people that lived in warehouses around here and worked in them. And so I was like, maybe I can find something around here. And I asked somebody, another artist that was living and working in his space, like, how did you find it? And he's like, dude, just go on Craigslist. And I didn't think that like there would be any space like this on Craigslist. So I went on Craigslist and I found it that day. And like a week later, the day I asked my friend how to find one. Found it that day. I called them. They're like, you want to come right now? And I was like, okay. So I drove down here. I went with my partner at the time, and I was like, this place looks so familiar. It was like on this big warehouse block. It's like, I feel like I've been here before. And this girl comes out of her warehouse that's like next door to where we were looking at. Um, and she sees my partner and is like, oh my God, what are you doing here? And they like hug each other. And it's like, I had met her 3 days before surfing, and I had been at her warehouse probably a year before that for like a warehouse sale that she put on for a friend. And so we toured the space. Um, and it was just me looking at the spot. We toured the space, really awesome spot. And he said he had like 6 different people come look at it, but because I knew Serena, which was my neighbor, which I had just met her like 3 days before, and because he wanted somebody that was gonna be mellow and like friends with the people next door, he was like, do you want the spot? And like right there and then, like right after I toured it. And I was like, yes, I absolutely do. And I think the next day I signed the lease. But then another crazy twist is that one of my dear friends that I had grown up with had called. She was in school in Barcelona for maybe 2 years, a year, had come back during COVID, like when it all started, hadn't seen her since it's been months since she came back, had not seen her because of COVID. We hadn't talked that much. And then she called me that day, asking me to hang out right before I went to the warehouse to go tour it. And I was like, I'm gonna go look at this like place to live. Like, wish me luck. Sorry, I can't come to the beach. And I don't know, like after that and like after the tour, I was like, I need roommates. So I called her back and I was like, do you guys want a place to live, her and her partner? So they're like, yeah, we'll come live with you. And then another crazy twist, her dad was having regular dinners with my neighbor because her dad's girlfriend or wife knew Serena, who's French, from Biarritz, from surfing in Biarritz, like years before. So there was like all these crazy connections, um, that it was honestly like weirdly meant to be. Like it kind of was freaking me out. I was like, this is too good to be true, you know. And then, when we built out the space, well, what was that, in a week? We got in here, we spent the first night on the floor on a carpet, the four of us, and um, ate dinner on the floor on a carpet in a big empty spot. And it was awesome.
Yeah, it's everything about your vision was so fun because we sat and I heard it clearly the very first time as you were envisioning it.
Yeah.
And then we get to this space and it was kind of funky that was in there, and somehow it was connected to another space, but you weren't part of that, but had doors that went in there. And it was like,
Yeah.
so there was that whole kind of weirdness. And it was just this big box,
Yeah.
big high space, but there was no loft.
Nope.
Yeah.
There's no
That's what's
loft.
behind you. And somehow we played with some of the parts and pieces and said, okay, this is what we got to work with. This is the space. Oh, that back wall is all cement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we considered a lot of different things and then went at it, and you like now have a loft and
Yeah.
that's really
Well, we built that in a week.
yeah. Yeah. It was fun. And I love how like you took your closet space for the show and use that as part of your installation now. And yeah. Is everything still working? All the projectors still there? Is everything still available to
The closet projector is not there, like the video on the wall, but I still have the other installations up there, and then there is still the dancing heads up on the wall, but it's kind of bright in here, so it's a little bit harder to see during the day.
Yeah.
But it's playing right now, actually.
Fun. That's great. I love the space and the fact that you've taken this opportunity to again, just kind of the weirdness of how things work out and people show up and you're like, wait, I'm supposed to be here, I guess. And also just the sense of place that you've created contains an element of time to it, right?
Yeah.
At this time, in this moment, during my life, during what was going on in the world, all the circumstances with COVID and, needing to move out of the studio, it just led to this chapter, this part of your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And now it's kind of like when you're reading a good book or watching a movie, you're just like, oh shoot, the end's coming. I got to slow down. I don't want it to be there. And yet it's here now. And this is kind of like crossing a threshold. First you got to leave and open the door to ready to walk out into what's next. And so we're just going to take a moment to share that. What has come through you during this last year being in that space?
Um,
How do you want to?
So a lot. It's been a lot of new experiences. A lot of like lessons and just kind of like I feel like there's been a lot of testing of my ability, whether it's like my ability to emotionally stand up for myself, emotionally take care of myself, physically take care of myself, um, handle really crazy situations, how I can like, I don't know, really just be my own person. And it's been wild, but I think it's been a very valuable time in my life. And I'm very grateful for it. It's always hard leaving a place, especially like going from like leaving my childhood home essentially, and then coming here and it being like my first like place I've lived outside of that, and then you guys leaving it. So like really not having that space and then being like, this is my space, this is like my safety zone. And then kind of losing that and not knowing where I'm gonna go next just because of circumstances. and and sorry, just got a notification I have 10%. What?
Are you plugged in?
No.
Do you have a charger?
Yes. You can go sit on the floor.
Okay, let's get it charged up.
Okay, sorry.
Not end the call abruptly. Perfect. Oops, okay.
Well, what is going? I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm not. Okay, sorry. There we go.
Hi. Yeah,
Hi.
okay.
I'm on the floor now. You can see my skylight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like just kind of going I don't know, I feel like just with like my past struggles have been very involved with like not feeling safe in myself, and so finding specific places that felt safe, like home, being very attached to this place that I called home, and kind of trying to unlearn that safety is a place instead of being like safety is in yourself, and kind of trying to realize that I am home and like my body is home, and this like vessel I exist in is home and it is safe, and trying to create a safe environment within myself. And I feel like this space has been really crucial to or helpful in learning that, um, um, because also within like the sense of like losing the space and not knowing where I was gonna go and not having a landing spot, really feeling like unsteady and kind of really overwhelmed and being like, I don't have a place to go. I don't know where I'm gonna land. Like, I'm gonna be couch surfing and living in my car. Like, what's gonna happen? Oh, I'll move to New York. That's great. I feel like, and like it just, I was like, I need to find a place because that's gonna be that's the only safety I have. But like reminding myself, like, I'm gonna be okay. I have this thing that carries myself. Um, and I am home wherever I go. And so I don't know. I feel like that's been a really like big lesson this past year, and creating a safe space within myself, like creating safety within myself.
What does that word mean, safe?
Like definition.
For you, because you just used it so deeply and it has
Yeah.
carries some kind of really important meaning for you. I just want to understand it a little better.
Yeah. I feel like when I think of safety, I think of um, like nurture, and I think of like being with like you and mom, and like how I feel safe when I'm with you guys. You know, how I feel protected and like nothing could harm me. And so, like, how do I create that within myself when I feel like, sorry, I'm getting really emotional right now, but like feeling, uh, sorry, uh, when my own brain and my body has felt like almost like hostile environment for a really long time, and putting that on myself essentially, uh, and as like bringing the same uh, love and nurturing that I would receive from the two of you and from my sister and my close friends and people that care for me and would protect me at all costs. How can I recreate that feeling inside of myself? So, um, sorry, uh, living on my own and having this big open space and like this environment to create and to explore and to just really expand myself in a lot of different ways has been like giving the same energy to the space and the same energy that the space is giving me, like into my own body.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, sorry, I was not expecting to like get into that, but
No, but that's part of the reason I wanted to be able to have this moment with you too, because I know it is a big transition and there's a lot that you've carried and a lot that you've learned. And sometimes it's just good to take a moment and let it out and reflect upon it and then carry that forward. Yeah, it's good. Your work throughout the last year, uh, it's interesting because there's themes and archetypes and characters and that I've seen come forward from your
yeah.
previous work, right? And at the same time, I've seen a change in how you've approached your paintings. And do you do the foreground first or the background first, or
Yeah.
just the fact that you're working in different mediums? You're working with ceramics and then mixed media on your paintings with chain and all these different stuff,
Mm.
and it's coming through in all of them. Right? Ceramic chain, like, whoa, how'd you do that? And just wondering if you want to share or speak to what's coming through those feelings right now through your artwork and that journey of this last year.
um, I feel like when I was originally thinking about the show name even before I was here, like when it was supposed to be in a gallery in LA. And so when I was thinking about the work and what it kind of, and like what I wanted to call it and what resonated with me the most one of like the top 3 names that kept on coming up was growing pains. And kind of the idea of this almost like juxtaposition of growing and the word pain, because growing is a really beautiful, incredible thing. And then there's also the pain of the transition. And so, you know, like a lot of growing is not knowing of what you're doing, where you're going, how tall you're gonna grow, what direction you're gonna grow. So just this really like kind of confusing state, but it was also a really beautiful place to be in, and really it was an adventure, really. And so I feel like a lot of the work like resonates with that. I mean, like when I go and I paint something, or I make something, there's not really like, I don't have like a set idea. I'm like, I don't go and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tackle this topic that I'm thinking about. It's like this process of like, okay, I'm gonna make something, I'm gonna draw, and I'm gonna see what happens, and then I'm gonna take what I like and I'm gonna put it down on whatever medium I'm doing, and I'm gonna evolve it from there. And then I'll look back at it maybe a week later and I'm like, oh, that's what I was dealing with last week. That's what I was dealing with a month ago. That's what I was going through a year ago. And it's almost like this unconscious like diary entry, like writing with your like with a blindfold on, you know? It's like you write it down, you can't see what you're writing, you don't know what you're writing. And then you take the blindfold off a week later after you're done, and it's like, oh, that's what that is, you know. I feel like a lot of people have these questions of like, what does, you know, I cannot tell you how many times people have asked me, even just in this past week of having people come through the space and walk around it, like, what does it mean? What does this painting mean? What does like your work mean? This is how I see it. Like, does it mean this? Like asking me questions, and obviously it's gonna mean something to every single person that comes through. It's gonna resonate. Hopefully, I hope that it resonates with somebody in a specific way, and whatever they feel or think it means is valid as much as whatever the painting means to me. And a lot of the time I really don't know what it means, and part of all the work, is this not knowing, this kind of like it's like I don't know, diving head first into a bucket of black paint. Like I I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm having a lot of fun. And sometimes it sucks and it's really emotional and it's tiring, but it's something I know that I need to do to feel all right in myself, or to unload things, to make sense of things. And yeah. You're muted.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. I mean, I go headlong into my paintings sometimes without having a clue
Yeah.
where it's going to land, and yeah, but trying to explain your work to somebody, but that's part of the whole gig, isn't it? You really, you know, when I think about part of this journey that got you here was the fact that you actually, you know, decided to pull yourself out of school and wanted to homeschool. And then in your senior year, it was like, okay, what's the curriculum? What are you doing? Where are you going with this? And you were like, it's all about art. It's about learning.
Yeah.
It's about working with artists, about learning, it's about reading, about doing. and that's what you've been doing, whether it was living
Yeah.
with all the intention that you had about going to the studio down with James and Diana before James passed, and working with Marco and John, and getting that kind of learning
Yeah.
and everything that you did there, all the photography of James' work, and just the discussions that you had, and people that you met there. And then that led to, you knowing that you wanted to pursue this, and you wanted
Yeah.
to give your life to your art, so to speak.
I mean, I've always known. I always knew, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I always thought that it wouldn't be possible to do it in a like a life sustaining way, in the sense of like income or like being successful, because it's like that's all you hear. It's like whenever you hear that, like every single time I told somebody that growing up, it's like, oh, like artists are always starving, like artists never make any money. Like there's this kind of this perpetual kind of idea that we are putting this like myth, onto artists, is that they won't be successful until they're dead, you know? And that's just like goes to show how like society undervalues their artists, and what we think of that. So like growing up and being told that like, oh, that's cool, you want to be an artist, but like what else do you want to do, or like what is your day job gonna be, kind of deal. I was like, I never thought that it would be a possible thing really until I think my junior year of high school. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna try, and yeah, I'll have my side jobs of like styling or modeling, whatever. Like I'll work retail jobs and keep on doing art. And but then like I went to the studio and I saw all these incredible people that have been doing it for years and successfully. And it's like, oh fuck, I can do that. Like I can at least try, you know? I can at least try. And I'm just trying. But it's crazy. Like I remember when we were doing the big move, and mom had kept all these old journals of mine since I was like before I could even spell, you know. And one of the journal entries in my book, like all incorrect spelling. I think some of the letters were backwards. Like it said, my name is Sofia Hefter-Smith, and I'm gonna be an artist and a basketball player when I grow up.
I've yet to see you throw any.
I have never played basketball in my life. I don't know why that was part of it. I was like, I want to be an artist, but I also want to like throw something sporty in there. I was a very big tomboy growing up, so I was like, I need something to balance it out. But yeah, I've always, there was multiple journals that had something along those lines, and going to just being in school and like, okay, I have to find something realistic to do for a living, and trying to like, realistic, just like what is thought to be realistic and what is thought to be an actual job, and trying everything out, trying to do this, trying to do that, and nothing stuck. Nothing stuck besides art. Art was the only constant in my life. And I was like, oh, it's just something I do. It's just like a hobby. It's just like this thing that I love, that's fun for me and I enjoy and I do all the fucking time. It's like, why wouldn't that be my life? You know? But yeah.
Life is a journey, isn't it? And it's just a big old painting. It's a metaphor. It's all the different ways that we try and articulate what we're feeling. and what we're sensing in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you if you would just take us for a little walk around the studio and share kind of what's up, figure out where you want to start, because all good stories have a beginning. Well, not a beginning, but somewhere along the journey, we start telling the tale. Where would you like to do that today with us?
It's kind of messy in here, but I guess I can start from the entry
Okay, however you
where you
like.
enter the warehouse. Let me move some things out of the way.
Do we have enough juice?
Yeah, we should.
Okay,
We have like 10 minutes to finish this.
that's why I figured
Yeah.
let's get going. All
So
right.
I guess I'll start from outside, show you guys the front of the building.
Okie dokie.
I'm gonna flip this around. Oh yeah. So this is my warehouse. This is like where I've lived the past year. This is my entryway, our C, my red door, and this is where we enter the building. My poster wall that is completely falling down. It's kind of fitting for the last day. But here we have the title wall painted in the corner. And if you come over here, I paint in a lot of books and on a lot of found photos and objects. And so this is one of the books I painted, and this is where the original show flyer was painted on. That was then scanned and turned into these and this poster. Dun, 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 dun. So we have this painting. We have it hung from chain from the ceiling. And you come over here. More chain. This is where my roommates lived upstairs. This is our really sketchy projector rig. You come over here, cinder blocks. We have the ceramic pieces. Chain head. This is where I work next door. Usually it's closed, but this piece. We have the ear that is connected to this pile. And this piece. And then this piece is pretty important, I would say, because this is the first piece I did to start off the 2 months of working on this show before I knew I was going to be here. So I had a very tight timeline. And it's funny, I hated it for so long. I was working on it, and it was really frustrating and really emotional. And I had this whole piece underneath it that I worked so hard on, and it wasn't right. And it really was frustrating for me. And I just scraped over it with paint. I don't know if you can see it. And it just became this wallpaper almost. You can see like the detail underneath, like in the walls of this painting. And it became, and this got scraped over fucking 15 times. It was, yeah, it was crazy. This part of the canvas is way thicker than the rest of it. But yeah, it's funny. This is like the blue chair from my studio that I sit on. So it just kind of became this studio portrait of me working, and this like softness, but also this like anger. And yeah, I don't know. It's so once I finished that, I rolled it up, and I hadn't seen it. I hated it. I was like, this painting sucks. I hate it. And so I rolled it up, and I think for 2 months I didn't see it until I rolled it out, or I think 3 months now. Yeah, I didn't see it, and I rolled it out for the show, and I'm like, oh, that piece is really important to me, and I really love it because it means a lot. which is pretty funny, but yeah, this one took a bit. It was tacked up on my wall for a really long time. And then we have the ceramic pieces. We have the Goya Tower. And then we have these pieces. Some more chain pieces. This one says Earth on it. You walk around. But yeah, we have stuff above the doorway of the pink bodies, and hanging from chain is another painting. And then we have this big cluster of kind of, I mean, I feel like this is the most representative of myself, and how I work almost, and what I surround myself with. And then you have these pieces for chain and the found photos and stuff on the floor. And then we have this big piece. This one I also hated for forever. It was my first like big oil painting. So I think the biggest oil painting I've ever done. We have these little pieces, cinder blocks, and then just like these little pieces of mine. And then here, I'll turn on the light. But we have this little installation that we made in the closet of basically the same blue chair that is in the painting on the other side of this wall, which is my studio chair. And these are all the clothes I work in in my studio, covered in paint, and my shoes I work in. And it's just kind of an ode to just creating all of the work you see in here. And there was a video installation in there that is on my computer right now, but we have this piece with part of a poem that I wrote after painting this piece above the door. And then I don't know if you can see it, there's a projection of up here, a video that I made of me and my roommate in the paper mache heads that I made, I think probably the first week that I was here, that I've essentially lived with us the whole year, that year and a couple months that we were here. And we have these pieces. You come up here, this is where I used to sleep. It's my bedroom. Here are the heads, my friends. The same heads that were in this video. I'll send you a video, you can see better. And then we have these kind of self-portraits. I had a really close friend of mine who's an incredible photographer, Lucy O'Keefe, come and take photos of me in the heads, like, I don't even know how long ago. I think a while, 6 months ago, I think December. And just painting on top of that. And then we have these found photo pieces and painting on top of those, and then photos that I took of a really close friend of mine, and painting on top of the photos I've taken of her, and using this plaster to create a border or a framing. And then you can just see it all from here. This is my view every morning, my skylight that woke me up. And yeah.
Very nice. Where are you? I want to see your face. There you go. Are we going back downstairs?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is, I think, a really good way with the overview and the story of your work to kind of close this chapter.
Yeah.
and you know, carry that forward. It's been a lot. I'm just so proud of you, honey, and I just want to,
Yeah.
really say thank you for allowing us to share in your journey.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right, my dear. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. I love you.
You too.
Love you, Mom.
Okay, now I got to figure out how to turn this thing off. Bye. Talk to you later.
Bye.